said she needed a breath of fresh air.
Oh, okay.
And my and
Hey,
my
we're live. Hello. Look, listen to that. See, and thinking I'm getting things quiet. Hello, viewers to the Smart Money Monday. This is Daphne, the Smart Money Chick, and we're here tonight with a good friend of mine. We've got Michael Barnes, a financial first responder. He's a registered advisor, and we've got him here to talk about our subject of making your money work. And here, I've done all that. I hope everything is silent now. Hey, it's great to have you here, Michael. How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm glad to be here.
Great, great, great,
The
great.
smart money chick. That's what
That's
I
me.
like.
That's me. That's me. So I introduce you. You're the money man. So look, tell us what it's like to be a registered investment advisor. What is that title?
Well, what is it like? It is a roller coaster.
Okay.
It's some days you have your ups and you have your downs,
Mm-hmm.
because you're dealing with a, a a subject, especially in our community, that
Right.
most people don't really talk about.
Okay.
And so when they meet professionals like you and myself,
Right.
um, we sometimes have uncomfortable conversations with them about their money. And so, as a registered investment advisor, what I actually do is I'm a liaison between the client or the customer
Right.
and the custodian. So I basically bring Wall Street to the individual or the company itself.
Okay.
So
You
I'm not a
mentioned.
broker. I work
Okay.
for a fee. So,
Okay. So, because I'm a broker, I'm a life insurance broker.
mhm.
So my fees are paid by the life insurance companies that I place the business with. But you used the word custodian. Could you explain that?
Yes. So when you have a transaction, say I am looking at your risk tolerance and you happen to be there's several types of investors. You have moderate investors, you have
Right.
growth investors, you have aggressive growth investors,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have people that are very conservative.
Right.
So there's a wide range of investments. So an individual would come to someone like me, we do a risk profile, figure out where you fall on the spectrum, whether you're conservative or whether you're closer to being aggressive growth. And then we would build a portfolio based off of things that you either want in your portfolio or don't want. Because I deal with some people and they don't want anything to do with sin type um, instruments. They don't
Right.
want tobacco, they don't want alcohol. Maybe they are environmental friendly and they don't want anything that might hurt the environment. Um, so going back to your question, a custodian is a essentially is the actual investment company that actually picks the stocks or the actual investments that my clients would then purchase.
Okay.
And all I do is I'm the liaison between them and that. Normally, most people are used to hearing 401ks or 403bs.
Right.
Those are institutional investors. So,
Mm-hmm.
what I do is I take the small investor and I allow them to be invested with the institutional investors like banks or pension funds for a
Okay.
smaller amount.
Okay. Banks and pension funds. Uh, so what are your licenses?
So, I have a Series 65. I used to have a 7, a 6, a 63. I am life and health, property and casualty, and that's pretty much it.
Okay. Okay. So no direct involvement in the market, as in actual buying shares of stock or things like
No,
that.
no. We can
Okay.
hold your stock. I can actually look at your portfolio
Mm-hmm.
and go to our analysts, and we can actually look and see if the portfolio meets your needs based off of what you're telling us. But
Right.
I don't pick stock and I don't make commission from the stock.
Nope.
I actually like it that way.
Well, yeah. Hey, hold on. Just 1 second.
Okay.
I got to. It's hot in here. I got to. Got to turn the fan on.
It's okay.
It's the fan on. So Series 65. So you're looking at mutual funds and so because I often when I deal with people who have W-2 income, I mean they have jobs.
Right.
So most jobs, companies of any size, and even now we're starting to find with smaller firms, with folks that only have less than say 10 employees,
Right.
are creating 401ks. So some type of retirement of qualified money for
Right.
their clients. And so qualified money, to those of you out there, is money that the government approves tax deferral for retirement.
Right.
So there
In layman's terms, yes.
yeah. So when you hear the term qualified money, that's what it is. It's money the government has deferred taxes on because you're using it for retirement. You're following their retirement rules. And 401ks often get bad press. Oh, you leave them alone. There are other, sexier, more money, things that make more money because they have a higher risk. But I often suggest, because particularly I worked for quite some time with teachers, they have 403Bs, which are, as you know, for public employees, that it's a place to start. Because I tell everyone to just get started. Knowledge comes by getting started. So I was wondering, do you feel the same way, or?
Oh, I would absolutely, Daphne. I would basically say that for people who are in the working industry, whether you're blue collar, white collar, doesn't matter. You need to get started doing something.
Right.
Something is better than nothing.
Right.
And as a person used to tell me, it's not really how much money you make, it's how much you keep.
Exactly.
And what the qualified plans allow you to do, the 457s, the 403Bs, the 401ks, the SEPs, the simple IRAs, what it allows you to do as an individual is save a percentage of your money annually, pre-tax, meaning you don't pay any taxes on it, and you have some tax deferred growth, and you only pay the taxes when you take the money out.
Right.
Now, let me not confuse people, because there's a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k, and there's a traditional 401k. The difference in the Roth program is that you're paying into your retirement plan after you've paid taxes on it. But all of your money after that, the interest that you gain, is tax-free.
Exactly.
So some companies may offer half Roth, half traditional 401k.
Right. Well, the reason I promote to start saving at work first, particularly with the 401ks, is that there's often a matching, so there's free money. Can't beat that. And it offers what I call automatic blind savings. That
Yes.
it usually takes a couple of pay periods for individuals to get used to having X amount of dollars less in their take-home pay. But once that's done, it's going on, and it's not something you have to think about. And so automation helps great. It helps great with savings.
I agree with you 100%.
Right. And so it gets one started. It gets one started. So that's why I'm a fan of 401ks. Could they be in better things, lesser fees? You start getting into the weeds with folks. And often when it comes to money, once you get into the weeds, their eyes get heavy and you lose people.
Right.
So, I mean, that's what I'm here for, is to turn complex subjects into something that's usable solutions for people. And so I always tell them, get started right where you are. Get started where you are, cast down your buckets, and a 401k/403b is a place to do that. It gets you started. And you don't lose that money. It's your money. It's your money. It's got a few restrictions on it, but it's still your money. You still get to it, still follows you around. You can still take it with you and things of that nature. So
It is
that's something
portable.
to
You
read to
can
be
go to
about.
your next job with it or roll it into an IRA.
Right. And
That's
then
correct.
also simultaneously, I tell them about life insurance.
Of course.
Yeah, yeah. That's the cornerstone of financial planning, and particularly traditional whole life insurance, where you can gain interest on the cash that's in the policy. So that too can individuals have given it sort of a bad name. So I'll talk about the bad names that life insurance has gotten. What in your field do you think is taking a beating, but people really should still take a look at it?
Um, well, when we talk about mutual funds, I started my investment advisory or my investment career
Mm-hmm.
in 1996, I believe,
Right.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right out of college. I graduated in 94. I think it took me a couple of times to pass that test, but I finally passed it.
Right.
Um, you know, and I remember when mutual funds, you were paying 8% in commissions. Now you don't pay as much as that now,
Okay.
but it was a healthy fee. The American funds out there, and then there came a time where people were buying no load funds, which meant no fees. There was a whole bunch of different programs that were out there in the beginning that over the years, because the market demanded, they had to get better. So, as far as programs that I think are bad for people, um, I still have clients calling me asking me, can I sell them stock? I tell people all the time, the stock market is a great place to be if you've taken care of everything else. And just like life insurance,
Right.
people tend to want the sexy before the safe, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
They
Yeah.
they want to make the high rates of returns and they don't want any risk behind it. So I tell them, hey, let's start with your retirement at work. Then once you do that, let's see if you qualify for the IRA, because some people make enough money where they could not or they would not possibly be able to deduct a traditional IRA because of the cap. And then let's look at mutual funds, UGMA accounts, UTMAs, which are Uniform Gift to Minors Act or Uniform Gift to Trust Act for your children,
Right.
529 plans. Then let's look at, okay, you've maxed out what's at work, you've maxed out the IRAs, you maxed out the
Mm-hmm.
children's college fund, um, you've done your insurance, you did your will. What about an annuity? You know, for the
Right.
average person, an annuity would work, which is an upside down life insurance policy, which pays you while you're still living. I tell
Right.
people all the time, life insurance is for your 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 family, and the annuities are for you. So, you know, we want passive income. This is one way that you can get passive income. And you want to ladder your portfolio with some of everything. I
Right.
don't think everybody always says, well, you're an investment guy. Why don't you sell more investments? Because if if I sell you something, a product at $100 a month when you really needed a term policy for say 250,000 or 500,000 or a million, and you take the difference and you put that money in the mutual fund
Mm-hmm.
and you die, your family could have saved for a year and had $1,200, or you could have had an insurance policy where you had, a half a million or $1 million that you could leave behind to your family.
Right. Well,
So I don't always want to tell people you need to invest, because sometimes financially people say, well, I don't know what to do. Should I buy insurance or should I invest? And then you have some financial people out there that basically say, well, you shouldn't do anything unless you get out of debt, which I don't totally
no,
agree with
no,
that,
no.
because if you Kanye West said it great. If you're grown, everybody has bills.
Sure.
So
Sure. Well, okay. With the getting out of debt, Good grief! I thought I had fixed that. Excuse me out there. At some point, I'm going to figure out how to keep that thing quiet. But as far as debt goes, debt is a leakage. It's a hole in the bucket. But if anyone depends on you for income of any type, whether you're, of course, it goes with children and spouses, that's standard. But you may be helping out an older aunt or uncle. You may not have your parents with you, and you're helping out your siblings. If anyone has any requirement of your income, any portion of it, you need life insurance. And there are different types of life insurance out there, and particularly you mentioned term. Now, term has gotten term is useful. Individuals have to understand term life insurance is just what it says. It's for a certain time period, 10, 15, 20 years.
Right.
There are even 30-year policies. And the reason you can get such a large death benefit for the amount of money is because they have the numbers that say you won't die during the term of this insurance.
Right.
Basically, the life insurance companies are betting they won't have to pay you. Clarification, they will pay the death benefit, but they're betting that you don't. That's why it's so inexpensive. Term does have a place, particularly for if you have a tight budget. Because it's still very important that you may say, well, gee, I only make about $12.50 an hour. I'm at $24,000 a year. That's crazy. I can't afford insurance. Sure, you can. We'll find something for you.
You can't afford not to have it.
Right. Term is built for you. And particularly with the term policies out now that have things like living benefits, where you can use some of the insurance while you are alive if certain things happen, like certain types of illnesses. I know several companies, traumatic brain injury, cancer, heart ailments, various things.
Loss of a limb?
Right. That would interfere with your ability to work. You can use some of the death benefit while you're still alive. So term policies have a place. But I will tell you, pardon me?
No, I was going to say a better one, if you want a mixture, would be a good universal life policy, because you have the whole life component.
Right, the permanent insurance. So but see, that comes next, because after I sell you term insurance, because it fits a budgetary need, one thing you need to keep in contact when your life insurance broker gives you a call checking in on you, give them a call back, because life changes, and your policy has to grow with you. Is that at some point, preferably as early as possible, to get into a permanent policy, whether it be a universal life. I'm partial to whole life policies, traditional whole life policies, universal life, index universal life, in that because the older you get, the more your insurance costs. The more it costs to insure you. So the first policy, if money is real, well, money is an issue with everyone, but there's only so much. Get a level term policy, and that's real important. Right. So when you get a term policy, ask your agent, write this down. Is this a level term policy? And by that is that the premium that you're paying now is the premium that you will pay for the entire life of the policy. It's level term. If they say they're going to sell you $250,000 death benefit for $17 a month, which is possible, particularly if you're under 30 and don't smoke, then for the 20 or 30 years of the policy, it is still $17.50. Oftentimes, I've run into clients as we review their policies, they have signed up for annual renewing term, which means that it could be subject to increase at a certain point. For instance, there's a company who shall remain nameless. They sell term life insurance to age 99. What they don't tell you is that about after the age 40, the rate increases every 2 to 3 years. The death benefit stays the same, but the premium goes up. So go ahead.
Question. If whole life is where we want individuals to be, because it covers them for their whole life.
Right, right. That's
right?
the design of the policy.
Versus a term is only a period of time. What I've done for clients is I've given them a term to cover them for their top earning years, and I gave them a universal life or a whole life, maybe as a baseline,
Right.
so that they had, let's say, they needed $1 million, but they needed permanent protection. So we may go out to, let's say their house will be paid off in 30 years. We may do a 30-year term for the bulk of it, and then do the rest for the rest of their life.
Right.
Which some of them understood why I was doing it, but then you had some agents who were unscrupulous and like, well, you should have just bought a term and invest the difference.
I have found that not to happen. It sounds great, and if you do it, it's awesome. But I have found that just once again not to happen.
Well, most of the time, to be perfectly honest, the people who say buy term and invest the difference don't have a securities license or an investment advisory license.
Right. So, let's get you in a term policy to get you started, to get you covered, to get the protection there. But at some point, because there's various things you can do, you can convert a portion of the term policy to a permanent policy. And most companies will treat you with the same health rating when we do the permanent policy, when we do the convertible term. Again, that's something your broker can talk to you about. Because health changes. That's why it costs more to insure someone who's older. So that's why it's important to get insurance early. Because I recommend, contrary to several radio hosts, to insure your children.
Of course.
To buy permanent policies for your children. Well, individuals under 18 can only have permanent policies. But to get permanent policies for your kids, they build cash. And again, health changes. You have a perfectly healthy baby, but by age 10, some issues may have occurred. And for instance, if a child develops diabetes, if you develop diabetes before the age of 14, you're uninsurable.
Right.
You can't get insurance later. So that's one of the few things that says uninsurable is what do they call it? Youth diabetes?
Yes.
Yeah. When you develop diabetes as a child, insurance is very difficult to get. So there is nothing wrong with buying policies on your baby.
And another note to that is historically, people after high school tend to gain a lot of weight, and they pick up habits such as smoking and drinking, which will cause them to have some of these diseases later on in life. So if you want a cheaper policy, if an agent cannot submit to the underwriter that you're preferred or super preferred if they know you're a smoker, or a non-smoker. So they try to give you the baseline and let the underwriter come back and say, no, they really qualify for that. You don't want to give the client the best rating you could get, and then they get denied because something in their medical history or background.
Sure. And as I talk about in my clubhouse group on Sundays, 2:00 Central, is the process of getting life insurance. And one of them is, please answer the questions that your agent/broker asks you honestly. Don't hold back. Because the underwriting process, which is the process that the insurance company goes through when they're determining whether they want to grant you insurance, is very thorough. They have access to all your medical records, the medical, they call it the MIB, the Medical Board.
Investigation Bureau.
And there they have a list, of every prescription you've ever been given, whether you filled it or not. The prescription is there. Doctor's visits, what was written. Do want to add that this is It is covered by privacy. It's not shared with the broker. This is simply this stays with the insurance company. They're not giving it to anyone else. There's some very strict federal regulations on that, so don't worry about that. So please be very honest with your broker. To include, you smoke cannabis, you smoke marijuana.
I was just thinking that.
That is not a problem anymore. Cannabis use and insurance are not an anathema. You can get life insurance if you regularly smoke cannabis, regularly use cannabis. You can tell them, edibles, vape, whatever it is, you can still get life insurance. It's not a problem anymore. And they even distinguish between how you use cannabis, such as if you do the edibles and things of that nature, it's not considered smoking. So any medicine you used to take, so all of that that you're currently taking. So any questions they ask you, they're asking you because the companies want to know. So
right.
So please get that information. But look, they often hear, if you watch any of my channels, you get a lot of life insurance information. So with mutual funds, how do you go about when a client comes in to talk to you as an investment advisor? What's the discussion? What are you trying to figure out?
Well, to be perfectly honest, what I am doing is I am basically like the underwriter for the custodian. I am doing information that most banks do. I collect Patriot Act information, which means I need to have your driver's license, your social security number, where you live, your name, and then I have you fill out a questionnaire. I read the questionnaire. I go back through the questionnaire because it's a risk tolerance questionnaire. I look at what you say your budget is. And a lot of times people will tell me, oh, I need to save money. And I said, well, how much do you want to save? Well, I don't know, but I need $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $500,000 by the time I retire. And I'm like, well, where did you get the figure from? Oh, well, I was watching something on YouTube, or I was watching something on TV, or my friend was talking about it. I was like, well, how much debt you in? Okay. How much income do you make right now? Because most people make $1 million in their lifetime, but won't save it. Won't save half.
Right.
What's your mortgage like? What are you planning on doing as far as your kids' education? Are you planning on paying for all of it, half, a quarter? Or are they going to foot the bill themselves? What is your overall goal? And then once I have that information as a financial planner, I can now sit down and say, okay, based off of what you said you wanted, not what I wanted, what you wanted, these are my recommendations. Now, once we get to the recommendations, we have to figure out whether we're doing a managed portfolio or whether we're doing just mutual funds. Managed portfolio requires you to pay a management fee. Okay. Mutual funds, you just pay a basic fee and that's it. As an investment advisor, we only make money when our clients make money. So if their account's down, our pay is down, period.
Okay.
And I like that because now the client doesn't think I made a whole bunch of money off of them and they didn't make anything. Versus with commission, the commission is what it is,
Right.
So, so now we're picking the investments. We're saying, okay, we are at a point where we need to start making some choices. People normally don't have financial problems. They have money management problems because they spend more than what they should spend. They eat out a little more than what they should because they don't want to cook. They don't plan for vacations. Their girlfriend or the boys will say, hey, let's run down here to the CIAA, or let's go to the Dominican, or let's go to one of these locales and just hang out for the weekend. That wasn't part of your budget. So then when a person like myself or you talks to them about, hey, you really need to save $200 a month. And the older you get, the more you got to save if you haven't saved. Right. But let's say it's $100, $200. $300, $500, $1,000 a month. That's too much. Wait a minute. Your car payment's $1,000 a month. How's that too much? You either want a car or you want to retire. So I've had to have those conversations with my clients. Maybe you need to get rid of the Mercedes and save your money. Nothing wrong with it if the Mercedes is where you plan on living at. But I have to give you reality.
Right. Well, what I often point out to my clients is that more so than coming down on spending, I am one that looks at income increase.
Okay.
Because you possibly, I see it as you have an income issue. So, and how can we increase income? With trading as little time to do that as possible. Not necessarily picking up a second job, which is heavily taxed, but in starting a business. Because that is more tax friendly.
Of course.
And finding ways to grow money tax deferred and preferably tax free. That's one of the advantages, as I said, of having a whole life insurance policy. It grows tax deferred, and the money can be used for what you choose for. It's not like qualified money, where it has government limitations on it, and it's tax free. And that I recommend to everyone to get some form of a side hustle, one for the cash it generates, and also for the tax benefits. All of a sudden, you're taking the mileage on your car, maybe a certain amount of square footage in your home. There's because the tax code favors business owners. That's the design. It favors business owners first and foremost, and investors second. So that opens up things like real estate, just things of that nature. So I lean a bit to the income because I've noticed it's easier to get individuals to start thinking about ways to produce income and then getting them started than I call it the Susie Orman, Dave Ramsey, you spending too much money. The quote latte factor.
Right. I actually got that on my website.
Yeah, because you can become so budget conscious that it starts to affect your relationship with money. And you cannot dislike money because it won't hang around if you dislike it. It won't show up and it won't stay around if you dislike it. It develops a lack mindset. So
it's I think you're 100% right when it comes to lack. I mean, if you're listening out there, people, look, my mom was a teacher. My father was a minister. They're both retired in their 70s. They did the right things, paying things off, all that. But at the same time, their health declined to the point where now what you don't want to be is you don't want to be, and I heard this quote when I was in Miami, you don't want to be old and broke.
No.
You can be one or the other, but just not together.
No.
And I'm not saying my parents are broke. It's about quality of life. So you have to figure out what your hustle is and make that allow you to save the money that you want.
Exactly.
So if it's driving for, DoorDash, Uber, I actually met someone who wanted to buy a house, and instead of going out and getting a part-time job like you were saying, she actually delivered Uber and in 6 months made enough money to put down to buy a house.
Exactly.
But it was her business.
Right. So that's and now I am certainly don't want to be accused of talking out of both sides of my mouth. Budgeting and cash flow control does have to be applied. Okay.
Right.
So often what has happened, and I'm speaking by things I've done, not what I've read, is that the more money we make, the more money we spend. Mm-hmm. We did what we were supposed to do. We went to school. We got the quote, good job. And all of a sudden we went from a Chevy in the driveway to a Beamer. Mm-hmm. And we're no longer living in an apartment, but we quickly bought a single family dwelling. And some of us, I have friends who are on their third house. So you took the equity from one house and put it into another single family home and things of that nature. So you do have to view your money differently. And that's why I entitle this, Make Your Money Work. You've developed equity in a home. You purchased well. Do you really want that equity? Do you really need more house? Really? Seriously? Do you really need more house? Do we need the latest 7 Series? Do we really need that? What could be a more effective use? Because you mentioned the car note. You mentioned $1,000 car note. Because I think the average car note now is $750 in the U.S. on a 72-month note. So we're talking, 7 years? 7 years is $750. What is that in just a basic? Let's pull out the financial calculator, shall we?
Well, I can tell you if you're
Basic compounding.
Basic compounding.
Basic compounding. Start off with $750, and you're putting in $750 a month for 72 months.
What rate of return we using?
Let's keep it real respectable. Let's make it 6%.
Okay, so the rule of 72 tells you the exact point in time your money will compound, double, grow. So 72 divided by 6 is going to be roughly, don't let me lie here, let me tell the truth. Every 12 years, your money would double. So essentially 750. Let me go to my financial calculator. That's what
I'm 750 at 6%, and we got 72 months.
Financial calculator.
And we're gonna calculate that. So at maturity value, you've put in a total principal of $54,000, but you have $64,799. The interest was $10,799. And that's in 72 months is what, 6 years? Yeah. Okay. That's what that car cost you. So that's at 6%. Now that is that's real conservative. That's real conservative. Because if you put that amount in, we could pick something very, we'll say speculative, like Bitcoin. Okay, if you bought $750 worth of Bitcoin every month for the last 72 months, where would you be now? Or let's just keep it, we could go, pick one of your funds. What's one of your better performing funds for the last 6 years?
Let's go with American funds because everybody's used to American funds. Let's try a growth fund. Let's say that the average rate of return was about 8.5 to 10%. Somewhere in there.
Okay. Go
without me saying that that's the
right, because we don't want to be too sexy, and then folks are accusing us of saying stuff that's not true. 8.5 annually for that time.
And what did you come up with? You came up with 65,880.67, and you made $11,130.67 in interest.
Right, that was at 6%. If you bump 6%. It up to 8.5, you're still putting in the same 54,000, but you've got 15,900 in interest.
Well, let's go with 10%. So that means it double every 7 years.
Okay, see, that's scary.
Just for pure giggles. Oh my goodness, $74,946.68.
Okay.
You earned $20,000, $20,196.68.
There you go. So,
but wait a minute now.
Go ahead.
Let's reverse this, because the Rule 72 works for you. What works against you is, let's say you borrow this money and they give you an interest rate on your car. And let's say you didn't have the best credit.
So you paid about 14%.
Let's say you paid 14% on it. On that, let's see here. Oh my goodness, that's $85,630.17. You would have paid $30,880.17 in interest
Right.
just to
So
ride good
right. Right.
in a
So
depreciating asset.
and a depreciating asset because cars are liabilities. And here comes a big one. The house you live in is a liability. You like it, it's your house, that's where you
Right.
live, but it's a liability. It doesn't put money in your pocket. Assets put money in your pocket. Liabilities do not. So, well, how can you say that, Daphne? I'm gaining equity. You sure are. You sure are. But
But it's
you're
dead
not.
equity.
It is. It's frozen, and you're still falling behind because what you're paying in interest, you could earn more interest elsewhere on what you're paying. So, and again, for transparency, my husband and I own our home, so we too are paying a mortgage. So I'm not saying don't get a mortgage. I'm just saying,
Me as well.
right, don't call it an investment is what I'm saying. Call it what it is. You want the
But you
house, you
can
want to
write off
bought
a
it.
square footage of one room because you have a
Right, because
business.
I got a home office, so you're right. So I got a home office, so view it that way. So again, budgeting, I see it as having an income problem that you need to create more income somewhere,
Right.
and it isn't always working overtime because for anyone who ever, I remember my W-2 days. And you'd get upset. You put in all that overtime, and Uncle Sam is sitting right there. He's taking his 15 to 18%, well, closer to 20, right up front. Right up front. That time and a half is gone, so
I
to
call
speak.
him Uncle Pimp.
So, so the that's what happens with that. So starting a business of some type, and hey, we've got the internet. You've got people making several $100 a month. I don't know, selling fidget widgets and all sorts of things. So
Or if you're so inclined to be a entrepreneur, there's so many businesses that could use your services, for um I was talking to a relative and he was buying cannabis stock. And I said, well, you're not really making money on the stock. You're making money on the he's like, before I could even say it, he was like, no, I'm not buying the cannabis itself. I'm buying the people that supply the stuff to the cannabis growers, the tools and the
okay,
fancy things that you need, which remind me of the oil people. You don't buy the oil, you buy the pipe because they
right,
got to put the oil through the pipe.
right, yeah. The folks that the lasting riches that came out of the gold rush was actually Levi Strauss and Sears and Roebuck and places like that. That's
And I got some Levi's,
yeah,
a bunch of them.
yeah. They sold, they selling to the miners. They were not drops in the pan, just selling to the miners. But that's again, make your money work. To reset the start of the show, because you work very hard for your money, so your money should work hard for you.
You,
And
you, someone told me that if you work harder for your money than you do, than it does for you, you will never, ever, ever become wealthy. Your money is a tool. It should be making money for you while you
yes,
sleep.
you have to find some way to start making money in your sleep, and it doesn't necessarily have to involve risk. Uh, okay, for instance, as we just discussed, whole traditional life insurance is great for that because it's a contract. You have guaranteed interest, and you also have dividends. That
And the interest is higher than what's paid at the bank.
right. Well, the bank interest is a joke.
Yeah.
So where can I start, Daphne, doing these things? First of all, look at your job. Look, if you are working part time at McDonald's, they've got a stock, they've got a plan. Part time working at McDonald's, Walmart has an excellent stock plan. A lot of people working at Walmart. They're some of the biggest in many states. They're the biggest employer.
I got one for you. When I was in college, I worked at FedEx and UPS. Those places have great employee stock option programs.
Right. Money comes right out of your check.
Never miss
Don't
it.
see it. Never miss it. So that's one. Find something that's interest bearing. And what I find amazing, and I'm also is that once you start investing, that's when the knowledge comes. For instance, if you're interested in the market, open a stash account. The links will be below. Open a stash account. You wear Nikes, buy Nike stock. So you're saying, well, Daph, I just pulled open I just looked at the price on Yahoo. I think Nike is sitting at $120. Well, using Stash, you can buy incremental portions of stock. You don't have to buy a whole share. So buy into Amazon, buy into
Dollar cost
Netflix.
average.
Yeah, and do it regularly. Buy into Netflix.
Buy into Sirius. I own the stock. I appreciate you.
Not serious.
Sirius
And then
XM Radio.
when you start purchasing stock, you will start asking yourself questions, and then you will go and find the answers. What do they mean by PE ratio? What do they mean by quick ratio? What makes Netflix, how is Netflix still gaining in value and technically the company hasn't made any money? Because Netflix is a revenue generator. Just think those of us that have Netflix, we send them X amount of dollars every month. They're revenue generating. So even though they haven't technically put a profit on the books yet, they're revenue generating, and their stock keeps increasing. Or you could find interest in dividend paying stocks. All you got to do is put in Google dividend paying stocks. There's a whole list of them. I'll give them to you.
I like to tell people, Daphne, is what kind of car you drive. Let's say you drive a Ford. Well, Ford has been around for a number of years. They're actually making an electronic Mustang. They're making an electronic F-150. And I believe the last time I saw their stock, I think it was like $13 a share. And I've seen it as low as $6 a share over the last couple of years. So it may not be sexy like Apple,
Right.
but it's consistent.
Oh, yeah.
And some people just need consistency.
And it's a dividend paying stock.
Exactly.
And dividends. So that's where the company declares a cash dividend. So when you own stock, they pay so much per share of stock. It may be 10 cents, it may be 2 cents. But when those dividends are reinvested, as you can do on Stash, where it goes to purchase more stock, it increases. Once again, you're making money when you sleep. And pennies do add up. He mentioned that he owns a Ford vehicle, so he buys Ford stock. I live in Texas, so I buy stock in Exxon.
Well, I don't own Ford. I own Sirius because it's in every car.
Okay, there you go. Well, I own Exxon because they're all over Texas. So between the gas stations, the refineries, they're here. They're Exxon, and they're as old as the oil industry itself. So they're a descendant of Standard Oil, Rockefeller's original oil company. They're what they morphed into. So right
the bots
now,
got us.
Pardon me.
We had faded out. The bots had got us.
Oh, okay. Saying that. So the average price now is sitting at 42, and I've seen it. I think when I bought in earlier this year, it was at 21. So I've done pretty well.
You did real well.
So I dollar cost average. So I've been owning it for about a year, and I buy it regularly. And so again, when you're looking to do things with your money, do things you understand. That's why, if you've noticed, both of us have suggested that you start at work and reach out and then start doing some other things. I went to Stash to start buying increments of stock, or you can go to Robinhood and buy actual whole, actual shares, actual complete shares.
Or you could go to your bank. USAA used to have their own platform. Now they use Charles Schwab.
Okay.
So I'm a
Is there
Swabby.
okay? Is there a fee there for each trade?
It depends on what you're buying.
Okay. So
So
with the two things I just talked about, it's free. So Stash, well, I take that back. Stash is $1 a month,
okay.
regardless of how many trades you do. And Robinhood, I'm not sure about. I haven't messed with the Robinhood account in a while. I got one for you. Got one for
Hmm.
you, Michael. You have any Bitcoin? Any
I
crypto?
sure do. I
Do
get.
you have crypto? Other crypto? Do you have other coins, or do you have Bitcoin?
I have Bitcoin.
Okay.
I have, and you got to understand when you talk about coins versus tokens, the coins are actually on the actual blockchain itself.
Right.
So when people actually buy Bitcoin, they're actually buying it on the blockchain. When you're buying tokens, think of it like a railroad track. The tokens are sitting on the cars that are riding on the track
Okay.
versus the coin is the track
Okay. So you're
or
buying
on the
tokens.
blockchain. Yes, I'm
So
buying coins and tokens and
okay.
NFTs. So yes, I am one of those people.
Okay. You bought NFTs.
Hmm.
So are you buying like artwork? You bought some songs? What?
No, I bought Mana, which is and I'm just for uh,
Information purposes?
information. So I'm not giving financial advice on buying this because you would have to pay me a fee and we'd have to have an agreement. Um, I am buying things based off of the utility purpose that they offer. So obviously XRP is in the news right now because of
Right.
the SEC, and that lawsuit. I own that. You have Stellar, um, you have Ren, you have Cardano, you have Bitcoin. There's even an ETF for just Bitcoin or crypto, and it's called Bitwise, where people
Okay. I've heard of that.
could actually buy into the top 10 cryptocurrencies, and that's actually being sold in the market. Um, there's over 8,000 different cryptocurrencies.
Right.
So I don't want to just say the ones that I'm buying are great because I'm learning like everybody else. But I only put no more than 10% of my investable assets into crypto. So I'm not trying to swing it out the park. I'm just trying to be in the number, in the room.
Right. Right. Uh, I've seen the growth, and I like the facts that it's government, that it's not government, that it's free of governmental controls.
Right? It's decentralized.
So that's a big thing for me, and that it's a set amount. It's 21 million Bitcoin that will eventually be created. I think the last time some people in the know told me it's like 18 million so far that have been mined. And
Well, they're going to have a burn rate at some point, I guess,
when you say a burn rate,
where they're going to start doing so many per per year. They're going to reduce it so that it keeps its value.
so you're saying that at some point you think they won't mine the full 21 million?
Well, I think they will, but they'll stop, and then it's going to just get traded back and forth. But most coins has for a finite value. They only are going to make so many coins or tokens. They're not going to be like certain governments that just prints paper.
Right, right. Yeah, hence the 21 million. Right.
Hmm.
That's it. There's only going to be so many. So that's part of it, because now
And
there's
just for the
with
record, Bitcoin is at 58,300. Well, excuse me, 54,000 $885 and 80 some cent.
yeah. So as I posted on my Twitter page, on my Twitter the Smart Money Hotel. What are you doing with your STEMI? What are you doing with that STEMI check?
Well, I don't qualify for the STEMI, so I guess I'm blessed because I make too much.
Yeah. So
But
some of the
and
folks that follow me, what are you doing with your STEMI? Did you buy some Bitcoin? Did you get you some life insurance?
I
Let's
hope
do
they did
something
something
else.
smart with it,
Let's do something else other than OnlyFans. So,
or
so
buying a purse or a pair of shoes.
right. Well, the you need to get your money to work for you because with the rate they're printing it, it's a little scary for me. What's your idea on that? Because they're talking about another stimulus check. They
Well, I
said
mean,
that there may be a fourth stimulus.
and here's the thing: when you talk about I think the last stimulus check was $1,400, something like that. For a lot of people that are out of work, that $1,400 could, buy food.
Right.
It's not going to pay rent. It's not going to pay, a mortgage, but it is something that, can help make sure that they're not, living hand to mouth.
Right.
Um, Unfortunately, I realize that a lot of people are not working right now. They've been affected by the virus, and I don't want to talk down to people, but in our community, when um, when the majority catches a cold, we catch pneumonia. And what I mean by that is that we typically don't or haven't had the financial wherewithal to put things aside. And
Right.
I can give you an example. My grandmother, she died in 2019. She was 93, would have been 94. But I remember as a child, she used to say to me, she'd say, Sonny, or she'd call me Mickey Mouse. She'd say, look, she was like, I always pack away food in the freezer. I pack it away because she grew up during the Depression. She knew that when there were good times, at some point they would be bad times.
Right.
And so we would have fish and all types of meats and vegetables in the freezer. And she's like, as long as I have my lights on and I got food packed in the freezer, we can eat. Because she grew up during the time when food was scarce.
Right.
So we have to take that same mentality with our money. We have it working for us, but we also have to have that emergency fund, that life happens, or excuse my language, the Esquire happens um, in our life because it's gonna happen. People lose jobs. They didn't plan on losing their jobs. Whole places just demolished as far as people who were working families who were making money. They were living check to check. And
Right.
that not necessarily they were poor either.
No.
You had some people who were making a decent salary
Oh yeah.
who
The majority of America lives paycheck to paycheck.
right. So I'm not saying that a person in Mississippi couldn't do this, or a person in New York couldn't do it, or a person in California couldn't do it. It's basic principles of not of saving money in increments where it's affordable.
Yes.
Putting the little bit away. Inch by inch is a cinch. Yard by yard is hard.
Right.
You can only bite an elephant one bite at a time to to eat the whole elephant.
Right. So the idea is to live below your means. So you have to figure out what that is. Grant Cardone calls it living on 40%.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to decide what that is, and to put the rest of that money to work for you. And the sooner you get started on that, the better it is.
He actually says go broke.
Right. So some of the flashier items that that one may fall, shall I say, fall prey to, let's put that aside for a bit, and figure out how we're going to get our money to work for us, and so that we're not working for it. And at some point, I'm not one of those folks that poo-poo W-2 income, because the president of McDonald's is an employee. So let's not just say going on, oh, you're crazy to work, you're a fool, things of that nature. No, that is not the case. But simply the income that you earned from that, put it to work for you. Compound interest can work in your favor. It doesn't just simply have to work against you.
I tell people like this: if somebody gave you $50,000 over a 30-day period, or a penny that doubles every day for 30 days, which one would you take? And
go ahead.
When I talk to my children or I talk to grown-ups, I said, before you answer, think about the answer. And all I'm trying to get them to think of is that, yeah, 50,000 sounds like a lot, but it's really not. But a penny that doubles every day for 30 days,
right,
that number is astronomical.
It is. So are you saying, is it $50,000 once, or 50,000 every day for 30 days?
No, 50,000 one time in 30 days.
Okay, right.
So,
or a penny on the first day and it doubles.
And it doubles for 30 days.
Right. Because
if you get the penny that doubles every day, you end up getting something into the multi-millions,
right,
after 30 days.
Right. You're in the 8 figures.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the brilliant of Einstein called compound interest the 8th wonder of the world. And you certainly know about compound interest when you're paying car notes, when you're paying notes, house notes, car notes, when you've borrowed money for consumer debt. So am I anti-borrowing money? No, because you can borrow money for real estate.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody else pays a note on it.
I do it.
But that's another show. That's another show. But hey, I want to be respectful of your time, Michael, and we just crossed the hour mark.
Okay.
I want to thank you for coming here, and hey, let the folks out there know where they can find you.
Okay, if you are on Instagram, you can find me at senior. That's sr.michael.e Barnes, or you can find me at True North PDT, at True North PDT, or you can find me at my website at www.truenorth, that's TrueNorthAdvisorLLC.com, or TrueNorthPDT.com. I have other locations, but you can reach me at one of those two.
Yeah, we should have put that in the description when this post about where they can get in contact with you. And I want to thank you for coming on, Michael.
I enjoy.
I'm so glad. I know it's a little late there because you're East Coast. I'm Central Time, so it's getting late. So you get you some rest.
Oh, I am gonna do that.
Okay, and once again, it was great having you here.
Well, I hope I didn't disappoint anyone.
Oh, no, it was great. So I want you to have a great evening, and you have a prosperous day tomorrow.
I will.
Okay, then.
All right.
Bye. Okay, bye-bye.
God bless.